call McCullough Room 1, and McCullough Room 2 is right next door, and the rest of the rooms are down the hall. We're going to gather here to start, and at a certain time, whatever time Mary Cox tells me, we'll go to the room you wish to go to hear stories. Now, you'll have a schedule so you can pick your room, and then the storyteller will begin. You'll have 20 minutes in that room, and a bell will ring, and this time the storytellers are going to move, because it would be very hard to move this crowd a second time. However, if someone is burning with desire to hear another story, you get up quietly and leave with the storyteller to wherever room you want. And we'll have people in the hall to guide you for the room so that there's no great confusion, hopefully. No, this is a new thing for us, so you have to have a little patience with us. We want you to know that over 100 sisters served at the university. So there was no way we could have a story for everyone. And we know that some of your very favorites are not listed, but that's okay. You're there, and if you want to tell a story from your own heart, you're going to have time, because the storytellers are supposed to just tell you a brief story. They're not supposed to give the life history. Some will, and some you won't be able to stop to get them to hear your story, but you're going to have another chance. So it's in here, then to the first room, then after 20 minutes, the storyteller will leave, then a new storyteller will come in, and then you have another 20 minutes, and then the bell will ring, and then you come back here, and we'll just pick up any stories we didn't get, because we really want your stories, and that's really important. So some of the stories you'll tell today, some maybe you'll write and send to us, and some you just may remember in your heart. You don't want it, you're shy, or maybe it's just too intimate a story to tell. But we hope you have a fine remembrance of this day as part of your Alumna Weekend. And now I'd like to introduce Sister Catherine to give you a welcome, and then we'll say a short prayer, and then we'll just have fun talking for a little bit.
Thank you, Sister Louise. On behalf of all the Sisters of Charity, we are thrilled and delighted that you're here. And I know you're going to have a wonderful morning sharing storytelling. Now, I know we all have stories that maybe we shouldn't tell. But we'll do positive storytelling. And I know if you didn't have a chance to look at the exhibit, I want to thank Sister Louise, and Casey is our new archivist. And they did a very nice job with that exhibit. So we're eager, we're happy you're here, and we want you always, always to feel comfortable coming to Caritas Christi, regardless of what state you're from. We want you to come and be part of our lives, because you are part of our lives. So thank you for being here, and enjoy the morning. Sister Louise.
Thanks, Sister Catherine. One more thing that I forgot to tell you. On your table, on some of the tables, there are some folders or books with our online exhibit in them. We printed out a few of them. If you don't have access to a computer and you want to take it with you, you can do that. We don't have enough for everybody. If you have access to a computer, in the very front of it, it tells you how to get into the online exhibit, and you can look at it at home in your leisure. It's a lot to read, but you can do it a little at a time. On the online exhibit, there are places where you can push a little button and hear the voice of the sister if we happen to be lucky enough to have an oral history of that sister. You won't hear a lot, but you'll hear a little caption. We are in the midst of talking to all the sisters who are still alive, who are willing to sit with us and tell us about their time in the university, and they will eventually make their way to the exhibit, but right now we don't have those. Now we're going to say a brief prayer and then just have fun. Let us pray. Gracious God, may our hearts be open today as we gather to share stories of some of the gallant and strong women who have touched our lives and hearts as we search for knowledge to carry us into the future. As we celebrate this wonderful centennial year, we remember their lives and give thanks for the wisdom and leadership they provided. Now, as we move to the next 100 years, we carry with us a legacy that will make a bright future for all we need. As we reminisce during this short time, may we tell our stories and carry with us a thought and a promise to make the future ahead strong, kind, compassionate, and loving. We do this remembering St. Elizabeth Seton and the women who followed her in mission. Thank you, God, for this time to remember the days past, so that the future we build will provide a new legacy of charity. We ask all this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Now enjoy. Don't be quiet and start talking.
So I want to see this. I wanted to part of but then I wanted to share. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to our first ever Tea and Story Time with the Sisters of Charity at Seton Hill University. Please stay tuned with us as we will be back in about 10 to 15 minutes on this stream. Please note that you can catch live action on the other stream currently going on at this time. Thank you for joining us.
I like years and I like the real popular Oh, I did not. Arizona.
Hey, I don't see anybody else traveling down the hall, so, we'll get started.
Your sister.
Here comes Sister Mary Well. Okay, so.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Let me get a seat, a chair.
Yeah, you want to sit
Yes,
here?
sit here.
I'm going to be in and out.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm Sister Bridget Murray, and that's what graduated from Seton. And I did teach in the education department for 3 years, but I've been in education all my life. One of the teachers at our school said to me yesterday, I worked at Seton LaSalle in Pittsburgh, he said, well, this is the end of 30 years for me. How many years for you? Well, I was so embarrassed to tell him.
Oh,
I
32.
said, well, I think I'm around 30. Anyway, maybe we could all go around and just say who we are. Maybe some of you know each other, maybe some don't.
Martin Murphy, so you know who that is. Mr. Mary Joseph is my aunt, Mr. Murphy. That's my sister there.
Oh,
Her younger sister.
okay.
In spite of the hair.
She's more Murphy.
My junior high kids.
I'm Sister Maureen, currently the Director of Campus Ministry at Seton Hill, and I'm a member of the class of 67 Music Department.
Of course, I'm Sister Mary Joseph McElhenney. I think on my tombstone, I'll say Sister Mary Joseph's niece. I'm Claudia Kovach from class of 1970.
Johnny Guerra from the class of 1970.
Sister Adele Rogers.
Wendy Cody, class of 1993.
Tracy Cummins, class of 1993. Bridget Sutton, class of 1993. Elda Hall, class of 1998.
Charlene Triptine Dorian, class of 58. And also, I don't know about the rest of you, but I had elementary, high school, and college with Sister Jeremy.
Yeah.
Sister Colette Toller, I have to laugh because everybody at Seton Hill knows her because we're English department. So she was my math teacher in high school. She was just a little baby now.
Well, that's kind of where I wanted to start with Sister Colette. Sister Colette also went to Elizabeth Seton High School. She grew up in Beachview, and I'm told that she spent most Saturdays in the public library in Beachview reading. And she came to Elizabeth Seton, and that's where she took piano and voice and got interested in music. And so when she entered, she was the second graduating class from Elizabeth Seton. When she entered, she became a music major, was working towards a music major by Sister Mary Schmidt and Sister Mary Joseph. Noticed her talent in writing and so forth, and so she then was in the field there. My first memory of Sister Colette, I was a student at Sacred Heart High School when we had the old building. It was a temporary building, it was there for about 50 years, and it was wooden, and now it's been replaced, of course, many years ago. But I was sitting in one of the classrooms, and you could see like up to Shady Avenue, and we used a couple old houses up there for art, music, and Sister Colette was teaching, I believe, in the elementary school. Now, if I was 15, she was 21, probably, and she came walking down the pathway, and she wasn't very tall, and she had all these little children with her, like looked about second or third grade, and I thought, well, now, isn't that nice? And she was the music teacher in the grade school. But that didn't last long. She got moved into the English, and then she, started to teach English in college, was sent for a master's and a doctorate at Notre Dame. One summer I had a newspaper fund grant, so I went to Notre Dame for the summer, and a couple of us sisters would meet for dinner she wasn't, she was in a more permanent house than we were. And she came back with a doctorate and really only taught English for a couple of years, I found out, before she was made academic dean. And then we all remember her as the academic dean. I think the thing that people talk about that I noticed a lot with Sister Colette was not only how gracious she was, but how calm she always was under stress. And in the community, she got into our community chapters or plain meetings, and she was often the presider of like 50 nuns that were, or maybe not always agreeing.
She was called the great mediator.
Thank you. And so she was so calm. I remember one time she had some wrong or something. She apologized to everybody. The only way she could stand to preside at the chapter was to wear like bedroom slippers, but nobody minded that at all. Actually, after she left the job of academic dean, she had a year at Cambridge. I was saying Oxford, but people corrected me, no, it was Cambridge. But I think one interesting thing is when she was academic dean, Sister Mary Schmidt, who had been Sister Thecla, she was the president of the college at the same time. And they were in their offices all day, really working hard. So every evening in nice weather, we would see this. They would be going out for a big walk, like up towards the cemetery and back, just to get out of all that, And I think they were really good friends. And then after Sister Colette had gone to Cambridge, she did come back, and then she was free to teach English. And she taught English then for many years. And I remember she was teaching a Saturday school class with the sisters in American literature. That was really her field. And I was living in Pittsburgh, and I had never had her for a class, and I'm an English major, of course, actually, what else would one be? And they had a bus that came out on Saturday morning and take a couple classes. I was long graduated, but I never had Sister Colette. So I rode out every Saturday morning for a semester so that I could actually basically audit her class. And she was just as wonderful as everybody had said. So, anybody else, you things about her that I didn't know? What else can you say about Sister
I'll tell you a story about when she was academic dean.
Okay.
So even though she was academic dean and she put in long hours, and Claudia and I have both been academic administrators, so I don't know why in the world she agreed to do this. But she actually did an independent study in American drama with Alice Taylor and myself. And she did this once a week over dinner. And the other thing that she did, even though she was academic dean, she was so brilliant with T.S. Eliot's poem, The Wasteland. She held this took place in the browsing room in the library. And she went through The Wasteland line by line and explained the entire poem to us. I will never in my life forget that. And I certainly used those notes that I took when she taught that poem, when I taught the poem myself to students later.
I have a story about Sister Colette that involves Sister Aloysia, who was also an English professor. She was a great woman and a mentor to me. And Sister Aloysia actually was the director of the Junior Professed when I was a Junior Professed. And so she would come to visit us on our missions. And I was very young, and I was at Sacred Heart. And Sister Aloysia came, well, how are things going? And so I kind of had a list of things that were not going well. And she said, at the end of our conversation, she said, well, Maureen, you have to learn to prioritize. This might not be as significant as this. And she said, let me give you a bit of advice. And she said, it's something that Sister Colette and I often say when things are not going well. And I thought, oh, this is going to be something I can remember for the rest of my life. And it is, obviously. And I said, oh, what's that, Sister? And she said, oh, well, what the hell? And knowing Sister Colette, and knowing Sister Alicia, and I remember one day, Sister Alicia said to me, Marnie, of all the things I said to you in your life, why is that the one thing you remember? And I said, because it's the one thing I use most.
Hey, I think was Sister Colette the one that her sisters used to come up and play the piano when she was ill, well, even herself.
If she had a sister lived in Brookline, they sent her. to
Yeah.
Marion, she was one.
Mary in New York.
Yeah, they were Resurrection when I was there.
Yeah.
I think they were in our youth district.
I read a joke the other day. It said, the Irish are very emotional, sentimental. Some of them even cry at beer commercials.
Because it's not Scotch.
Okay, let's move on. The next sister that I listed here is Sister Mary Leon. Did any of you know Sister Mary Leon? You did. Yeah. Okay. Well, none of the you did.
I never had her as a teacher, but she taught chemistry when we were students.
She was really an outstanding person. Well, if I had taken chemistry in college from anybody, it wouldn't have been a good seeing. So I was in high school. But Mary, I knew her mostly, I think, more for the community because we got on some committees together and really became quite good friends. She was from Altoona, and she was very, 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 very well organized. Would you agree? And her chemistry, I think, was always taught in a very good way. She too went to Notre Dame for her master's and her doctorate. And then she really became pretty involved in things in the community and was elected to the council, to office in the community. And she was in office 2 years, when she was diagnosed with cancer. And she died in her 50s. But she made a great impact. I know on me personally and on many people. Her parents were still alive when she died. And they came and stayed at Assumption Home. And her mother was with her when she died. And so that's the part maybe that people remember. But it's probably better, she would want us to remember her when she was so active and working so hard. You know, in those days in college, I don't know if you might remember, the sisters slept right on the dormitory floors.
I was typing, and this is just very brief, I was typing in the bathtub because obviously it was quiet after 11 o'clock at night and I was late getting this paper done. And so I took my little portable typewriter into the room. This is up on 4th and Mint. Took it into the room and sat in the bathtub and could type it there because nobody could hear me. But it was close to 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was. Sister Alicia was the one on our floor, and I heard her come in. And what do? And so I just sat very quietly until Sister finished whatever morning libation Sister had to do until she left. But yes, they were right. You know, this was Sister's room, these were our rooms.
And the thing is, they had to stay up until the girls got home. You know, and sometimes, whatever time, 11 or something. And, oh, and speaking one more thing about Sister Mary Leon, she actually, when she was still in college, became dean of students. And I remember a big decision that had to be made. She was right in the middle of. And that was, this would have been, I guess, in the 70s, that the students were asking if young men would visit in the dorms from like, what, 1 to 3 or? Do you remember that? But it was like, at first, Sister Mary Leon was pretty straight-laced. And then the more she thought about it, the more the girls were very polite and did grant that they could come during, I guess it's Sunday afternoon.
With the doors open.
Yeah.
We weren't, okay, I'm 98, and we weren't allowed to have, Brownlee was my freshman.
That's freshman, you weren't allowed.
Okay, yeah, we weren't allowed. My husband still remembers how he had to be escorted everywhere on campus. And he tells the story everywhere I had to go. Man on the floor, and he's but my sister came in, she's 2004, and she's like, oh, her husband could come and go as he pleased. So that still had repercussions.
It's not a huge time period from 98 to 2004, so just the shift in the mindset is really interesting. And that's not a significant amount of time.
No. Wherever you are, I worked, as I said, in high school. And I mean, I've been at this particular school, this particular job for 6 years. And the students are different. They really are. The world is different. And so, things just have to change. I knew Sister Mary Leon a little bit in high school too, and I don't know if anybody would believe this, but I was a senior and we had to take first aid. And they asked me why. And they said, well, there's this sister teaching the 8th grade over in grade school. And in came Sister Mary Leon, and that was my first experience with her, that she had to teach first aid. The thing is, we kind of had to do what the superiors thought we should do. I mean, you could always voice, in our community, you could always voice your concerns or whatever, and sometimes they would ask you what you would like to major in, and so forth and so on. But pretty much the different jobs we got weren't like things we could do.
The agenda was already made.
Okay, and now we will move on to Sister Miriam Joseph. And I was telling Sister Mary Joseph that when I worked in college, I would sit with certain people in the dining room at lunch. We would spend our lunchtime telling Sister Miriam Joseph stories. And Sister Miriam Joseph was still in college when I came in '87. I think she was part-time by then or something. And was still, shall I say, running the show, as it were. And I remember when I came to the college, one of the first things they had was the honors assembly. I think it was in September. And I didn't have an academic gown. And so the woman in charge of activities or something said, oh, I'll get you one. I have a lot of them covered. So what she brought me was a doctoral gown. But I didn't know. I just put it on. I was, and Sister Mary Joseph. Shouldn't be. I mean, it was just a matter of wanting to be in Cecilia Hall. I mean, it was no big deal, and I didn't even look at the guy. I was just glad to have it. But that was a terrible. And earlier than that, when I was a student, and that was only by default because there's no way I could do chemistry and math, but I did love English and I loved to write. And so I became her student. And a couple stories that we remember, Sister Patrice tried to do English for a while, but then she got, Sister Mary Joseph wrote her a note. The French has triumphed again. She moved to be a French major. They wanted her to do that. But we remember that one of the first classes we were in, Sister Miriam Joseph, she looked around and she said, to think so much ignorance gathered in one small room. We were really encouraged. And one time she gave me a paper back, that returned paper to me, and it had on the bottom where she put the grade, it had like B+, A-, C. I met her on the elevator and I said, Sister Mary Joseph, I don't understand why there are all these grades here. Well, by that time I was already teaching, that a paper is either an A or an E. And she walked off the elevator. What mark she put down for me, I have no idea. And she really did give you a lot of good hints about writing. I remember one time she told me, oh, this is getting started. So yeah, a couple of quick stories about Sister Mary Joseph.
Well, when I was a young kid, I used to write to her. I'd get the letter back about 2 weeks later with all written. I sat a couple of years until I got my 7th grade. No more.
No more letters.
We called her Aunt Sister. She did not want to be called Aunt Anna, that was her name. She said, people will call me Annie, and so we were told to call her Aunt Sister.
She came to the farm, one time she was swinging in the barn,
Yeah,
and when she was home, she had groceries, big groceries.
Yeah.
And they were over in the barn.
yeah, there was a rope hanging down, so we went to the farm, and she came to see her swinging
She was,
on this rope in the barn.
That image is
You know,
gonna
I
stay
remember
forever.
my mother was the oldest.
she was 2 years younger, Aaron Joseph was about 2 years younger than her. And when my mother got a brain tumor, she went to Philadelphia for an operation, and Sister Mary Joseph went with her and stayed with her for 8 weeks.
And she had to go out on the street and stop perfect strangers and ask them if they would get blood. And they did.
If Mary and Joseph asked you to go down.
You get it. I actually lived with her when she was in her declining years, and I really came to love her
Yeah.
dearly.
She didn't know it.
She had run, but one day she called me into her room, closed the door. She said, if anything happens to me, get that out. And she pointed to the top of her cupboard, and I opened it. It was a bottle of scotch.
We can show you a whole
Oh, it's right now.
You stay right to the Yes, I know.
She's a staging of the guard.
Yes, so. Wait a minute. And when she worked, that was straight face. And then,
Yeah, with my nephew.
remember that was the first time I seen her.
Well, good morning, ladies. We'll start. This is session 2. I'm Sister Vivian McCowan. Been at City Hall lots of times. I'm now on my 4th rerun. It's a great place. Obviously, I love it. So my 3 assignments are Sister Leah, Sister Mary Janet, and Sister Mildred Corbin. So we'll start with Leah. And the French makers here, bonjour, and bonjour. Leah was not only my teacher and mentor, but became my very dear friend. And I think one thing I learned from her is that everything is not a big deal. And what I mean by that is she said to me at one point in my life, she said, you know, nothing bad ever has happened in your family. Well, that was kind of a short life because the next year, I think, my sister-in-law died at the age of 42, leaving 2 kids who were 5 and 3, so that was pretty bad. But her point was, you know, you have to distinguish in your life the things that are big deals and the things that are just, you know, gonna come your way. And so, and that was a good lesson for me, and especially, I've spent a lot of my time in administration and leadership, and she would say to me, you know,
if people don't like what you're doing, that's all right, you know, nobody's, you're not gonna have everybody happy with you, and that's okay, just kind of let that roll off of you, because, you know, when the next person comes along, they're not gonna like that either. So, but it was a good lesson to learn, that this, you know, there are big deals, and pay attention to those, but the things that aren't such big deals, you just move on with your life. The one course that Leah taught, that she was a wonderful teacher, and I really enjoyed being in her classes, but the one most useful course I had from her was phonetics. Because if you learn what combinations of letters in French make what sound, you can speak French. So, and that was great, but now in order to do that, you memorized the sentences that had certain sounds in them. And you practiced those sounds, and you made tapes in the language lab and all that good stuff. And it also gave you the advantage of when your mother says to you when you're a language major, say something in French, you have all these sentences you can nobody knew what you were saying. So here, you can say, il est difficile d'imiter le vieux de Nice et le sourire de la Mona Lisa. Go on. Pineapples in Canada or something. I mean, they were nonsense sentences, but you always said, yeah, get the right sound and practice that. So, but it was wonderful because then you never had to question how you say this word in French because you knew which letters make which sound. One of my favorite Leah stories is that we went to France together, and we were there for about 5 months. And we lived in an apartment that was a 5th floor walk-up in the Septième, which is the 7th largest one of Paris. A very nice place. But people at the University of Pittsburgh, I guess, knew these 2 doctors who owned this apartment. And they would let people from Pitt who were going over to do research or whatever they were doing. So Leah and I were able to rent this apartment, and it had an extra bedroom. So we had more visitors than you could imagine. We had an extra bedroom. But anyhow, one day the toilet broke. And that was kind of a disaster because up and down 5 flights of steps, there was a bathroom on the 1st floor we could use, but I went down. In my best French, I explained to the lady that there was une femme âgée, an old lady, living with me, and she could not go up and down these 5 flights of steps and whatever, and could you please get this fixed as soon as possible? So she did. She popped to, she got the plumber up there. Pretty soon it was, the moment it was fixed, the femme âgée was down those steps, out the door, and we were on the subway. That lady will never believe me. Oh my. My second person to talk a little bit about, does anybody have a little story they want?
I just know that she taught us speech.
Oh, that's
All
right.
of the poetry, very special enunciation on everything. It was
The Grand Old Duke of York.
Yeah.
We have 10,000 men.
I had Sister Leah in high school, and unfortunately, it was before the emphasis was on speaking French. We didn't have labs or any recording material. But years later, I was living in England, and we had a chance to travel, and I did remember enough French to ask how much it cost and where was such and such. So it came in handy. I wish I had stuck with it.
It's never too late. Okay, so my second person is Sister Mary Janet. Sister Mary Janet is what I'm going to call my sponsor in the community. So when I wanted to enter, she helped me do all the things you need to do before you enter. But my first meeting with Sister Mary Janet was at Seton High School, where she was coming to be the history teacher. And before school started, the little goody two-shoes girls of the school came and helped the sisters get their classrooms ready. So I walked into this classroom, and here's Mary Janet in her full white coat, and she had this long white apron on. And she said to me, "I'm the infirmarian." I was a junior. I thought, we never had an infirmarian before now. And she was carrying on. She had spoiled my name. She said, "Oh, infirmarian." Okay. she was a wonderful teacher. And any of you who had the joy of having her know, she could always connect whatever she was trying to teach you about with something that made it real. And so I remember she was teaching us about the Industrial Revolution, and she wanted us to know, about the working conditions of people in the pre-industrial times in Europe. And so she had us memorize this poem called The Song of the Shirt. Stitch, 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 in poverty, hunger, and dirt, and still her voice in a dolorous pitch sang the song of the shirt. Now, it went on and on and on, so I couldn't do that, but, she always, or she had a novel, I forget what the one about Pittsburgh was, and she'd say, oh, this would be a good book to read, and of course, we all read it, but she was a wonderful teacher, and when she finished her teaching years at Seton Hill, she spent about 10 or 15 years going down to the courthouse as a victim advocate. So she went to court with people, who just needed to have somebody with them, have, a little more support, because sometimes they were facing, the person that had accused of committing a crime and so on. And they loved her at the courthouse. At her funeral, there were a variety of people in the courthouse there, because they really loved having her. And I'm sure she was an interesting and good influence on, on all of them.
And she walked up and down the hill to get there. Yeah, people remember her long time after.
Right, yeah. And the thing about Janet was, she loved to know everything. I mean, she walked around this house all day, and she read the newspapers on every floor. She greeted anybody who came in the front door, told them she was 99 years old.
Always dressed.
Yes, dressed beautifully, interested in everyone. And, she knew, at Seton Hill, she knew all the custodial people, all the maintenance people, all the kitchen people by name, and knew them, knew their families. Somebody died in their family, she sent a card. She really was amazing.
Just getting back to how she would make history come alive. I had her in high school too. We went to the same high school. And most of the time you didn't know a lot about sisters' families, who they were, whatever. I remember Sister Leo Benson taking off from our freshman year because her mother was ill, and she could go to Carnegie and take care of her mother. None of her married siblings could do that. She was sort of pushing on. But anyway, this was great. But Sister Mary Janet's brother had served in World War II. And so when in history class, when we got to World War II, we got to that section, and you just couldn't wait for class because it was her brother's story.
And she knew, lots of wonderful stories. And she was so funny. If I ever found out anything, this was usually about my family or something, and I told her something that she did, she'd say, "Oh, baby, I didn't know." And I said, "That's what I'm telling you." And she did. She loved to know everything that was going on, and when she lived in this house at Christmas time, she would ask the treasurer of the house to get her 100 $1 bills. She had a Christmas card with a $1 bill in it for every employee on this whole complex. And she knew them all too. That's, so she had a great sense. So somebody said that she was like the mayor. And now my third person to talk about it is Sister Mildred Corby. Mildred was a New Yorker, and you never forgot it. You never lost her accent. Everything was moms.
Stylish too.
What? Stylish. Yes, she was. Always.
Yeah, that nice balls.
Right, and apparently she began a lot of her classes by saying, imagine that your head is attached to something on the ceiling. And so sit up straight, put your shoulders back. And she said it's good for your posture and it's good for your self-esteem. Anyhow, she was one of the first people, I think, who really encouraged and took students out of Greensburg and out of the Pittsburgh area, took them to New York, took them to Paris, took them to Italy, to the fashion houses, to the runway shows. She really had a good sense of
getting them out there to see what the world was like that they were going to be living and working in. And she made, she made many of her own clothes. She would, because she had, courses in draping and whatever, she could take a yard of material and make a dress out of it. And she was just thrilled if she could do that and didn't have to use more than the yard. And later on, she learned from some craft show that you could take men's silk ties and take off the wrapping and make those silk ties into vests. And she made, I don't know how many of these vests. She sold them in our gift shop. She gave them as gifts to people. She was always, working at doing something, doing something creative. Okay, so now what are your stories? You have already told them all.
I know when we were young, my sisters, we were sitting on the right-hand side of the chapel. The sisters would come home from school. We always picked her out as the one you would like to see, whether you were this big or this big. You wanted to look like her. She swayed up and down. She did it for our encouragement and education.
Well, when we first went from the modified habit into secular dress, she didn't hesitate to tell you if you weren't fashionably dressed. That doesn't go well together. What year was it, sister? Gee, it must have been about 70.
Yeah, 69 or 70.
Yeah, you certainly were not very stylish.
No. But no, there was some community where you kind of had to ask muster.
Yeah.
But your clothes looked okay, they're right length and style.
One of the things that makes me connect Sister Mary and Joseph and Sister Mary Janet is that the reading lists for their courses were impossible ever to complete. And so I think I learned from that you can't really ever master anything. You can't. Lifelong learning.
That's true.
When I graduated, she said, now you can, Mary Joseph said, now you can begin to learn.
Oh.
Wow.
Move to the next step.
I think every one of my brothers and sisters have a book that are still with us practically. It says from Aunt's sister or your birthday. And then you come to my brother Ted, there's still one. I know he never cracked the book once, but we still have that book that he was supposed to read. She was giving us reading lessons.
It's always interesting of all the people that we've had in school while we're here, from any of us ever get together. Sister Mary Janet's one of the ones that first comes up. And for me, Sister Aloysia, because I had her, like in her last couple of years of teaching, is, it's always with like the most happy stories too, which is, it's the good times, and she always seems to be part of a conversation around that. So it's always nice that, when you think about college, the first thing is Sister Mary Janet.
She told me it's fire. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's true, but she lived in East Liberty. She went to Sacred Heart, and Sister Rosamond did too. And Sister Rosamond must have done something her mother wasn't happy with. So Janice went over after school on a Friday evening and asked if Rosalind could come out. And her mother, Rosalind's mother, was watering the flowers. And she turned around and she said she could not go anywhere. And Rosalind was sitting on the steps. And she said she could not go because she hadn't done something. And Janet said, all of a sudden, the hose went dead. The mother had, there's no water coming out. She said, Rosalind bit the hose in half. I'm pretty sure I knew Rosalind. I go,
That's true.
What you said, Sister Mary Janet was very close to some of our family friends. The gentleman who had gone to St. Vincent and his wife, who is now deceased, gone to Seton Hill, and I'd been a special student of Mary Janet. And after she unexpectedly died, Sister Mary Janet called her husband every month to check on him until she died.
Mary,
When we were postulates, the very first class we had at Seton Hill was from Sister Leah, and it was speech. We learned so much. We learned not to emphasize prepositions, but the nouns, and we also, since we were young, she had us do a lot of oral speaking, and she had the most marvelous poems that she had us write together, and it was just it was a great start to Seton Hill to have Sister Leah as the first teacher.
she was lots of fun. She almost always wore penny loafers. And she'd say to the kids sometimes, if she got really sort of fed up with them making the same mistake over and over and over. Like in French, beaucoup is an adverb, and it is followed by de, beaucoup de. Because it's often has a plural noun after it, people want to say de, but she kept beaucoup. And it's funny when she said once to, if you ever say that again, I'm going to stomp on you with my hard little ears. Come on, there must be more stories here now. Janice, you were going to give a story back.
I remember when I was a freshman and we had plays. We had Oliver, and she was there at most of the rehearsals. And I had Sisters of Charity before. I'm from New Jersey, from different branch, and they were always more dignified and prim and proper. So when she got down, on the floor and crossed her legs and started clapping with some, wow, nuns really do that? I was like so impressed with that. But long story short, she made such an impression upon me, just as a person, that I named my daughter after her.
Wow.
So I have Leah.
Yeah, just generically, we were talking at breakfast, you if you marry and have children and so forth, the neighbors get together, your coffee club, kids play. So time and time again, I don't know what the discussion would be, but someone would say, how do you know that? Where did you learn that? And you were so aware of what the Sisters of Charity, in the mode of Mother Seton, what her charism was and so forth, it just became part of us. And you just thought, well, everybody knew that. Everybody didn't know that. We were getting something really special. But the whole crowd of you.
Not just letting them with yours.
Yeah.
No. I would have to agree with that. I live in Florida now, and when I got down, I'm in the French, Spanish, and education major here at Seton Hall. And then when I got down there, I started talking about things and teaching, and they're like, how do you know how to do that? I just do. Like, it was just the most natural thing for me. And seeing it, I just assumed everybody else had the same expertise.
Sister Mars, teaching child sight, she would say, first, love the children.
Yeah.
Then you'll do no harm, then you'll teach them something later. If you can, that's good, and go, I love that. And, it's the bottom line. We just assumed it.
Well, we were saying last night, while we were up until 1:30 a.m., how privileged we were to be students at Seton Hill College. I know it's now a university, but we were so lucky to have the sisters teach us. They were such role models for us, and so many of us went on to become educators. And whether we were in education or another profession, I think we learned how to mentor other people the way we were mentored by the sisters. So you know, I know coming to Seton Hill changed my life.
Where are you from? Where were you coming from? You were coming from.
38 miles.
Well, I have a wonderful Zoe story. Yeah, one summer, we used to have a mission list read to us, and they told you where you were going the next year to teach or whatever. Well, my name was not on the mission list. That usually meant you were either leaving the community or being exiled somewhere. So this went on for a couple of weeks. I didn't know where I was going. It began to be kind of a joke, you know, and say, oh, maybe I'm going to do this, maybe I'm going to do that. But anyhow, I went into I was still junior, I started mistress of junior. I still don't know where I'm going. Oh, she said, go and ask Mother. Well, I just passed Mother Victoria, who said, are you coming to see me? And I said, no, no Mother. So I went back and I knocked on her door. And I said, Mother, I don't know where I'm going on mission next year. Oh dear, she said. She was a wonderful, brilliant woman, but a little flaky sometimes. And she said, well, they say you will do a wonderful job. Now, I had no idea who they were, nor what. I said, oh. She said, well, yes, you're going to be working with the Dean of Women. So why don't you go over and meet Sister DeShanto, and she'll give you some things to do well. So I went and met DeShanto, and she sent me up to 4th and 5th morning, 4th and 5th to line dresser drawers. I thought, now, this has got to be the craziest job I've ever been. So I'm lying in the dresser drawer and lying. Well, finally, Zoe, who was going to become the Dean of Women but didn't yet know it, came home from graduate school. So she got told, and then the mystery was revealed. I was going to be her assistant. And the two people leaving those positions were Sister DeShanto, who had been the Dean of Women for 25 years, and Sister Baptista, who had been the Dean of Freshmen for about 10 or 15 years. Now, in those days, there were no transition meetings. You know, you didn't know where anything was, or they walked up, we walked in, and they were like that. Yeah. But anyhow, one day, I'm walking down the hall, and we're, you know, a couple months into our terms as the Dean of Women and the assistant to the Dean of Women. And my name was Louise Vincent in those days, and she called me Ouija. Ouija, come in here, she said. When she said, don't laugh. This is not funny. Well, serious face, yes, it's true. And she proceeds to tell me that the night before. Now, in those days, you came back after Christmas vacation and you still had exams and papers to finish from the first semester. So, in those couple of weeks until those exams were over and the semester ended, it was like crazy time. I mean, everybody was pulling all-nighters and all, you know. So, some little group of freshmen had been up at God knows what hour, you know, and decided that they would just look around for something to do. And what they found on the 3rd floor of the men was, I see you laughing, she must have been on this too. They found on the 3rd floor of the men the oratory. And in those days, the Christmas crib was set up in the oratory. And the oratory had a little blue carpet right down the middle of it, and the crib was up there. So these lovely children took all the figurines out of the crib set, and they lined them up down the carpet, and they had a little shepherd boy with the pipe and leading them out. And there's a little sign on baby Jesus saying, hey, where's everybody going? That's pretty creative. So, I mean, Zoe and I are angry. What happened was, we had a lot of older sisters living in St. Joseph's because I guess we didn't have Assumption Hall yet, or they lived there anyhow, I don't know. So, and one of these elderly sisters, who was not the most pleasant person anyhow, I will not name her, she will remain nameless, but anyhow, she met perpetrators of this heinous act in the hall on the 3rd floor of the inn, and she said to them, whoever did that, their arms and legs should fall off. The next day, one of them sprayed her ankle. She hobbling in on her crutches. Sister, it's happening. Now, in my previous group, I met another one of the perpetrators. She was the one who put the sign on the baby Jesus and suggested put in the little
You're having too much fun, but if you would return to the color room now.
Yeah.
listen to me. First of all, did you enjoy this part of the meeting? Thanks, we have to do it again.
Yes.
Thank you all for all your stories that were told. But now we have a little bit of time. And was there a story missed? Or did you have one in your heart that you hoped would be told?
I don't have a story. Actually, we have a celebrity in our midst. Mother Mary Blanche McGraw's great grandniece is here. Shy to tell that.
Well, you're very welcome. And I know Mother Mary Blanche would be very happy to see you here.
My grandmother, he would come up to visit me, and no, she would talk about Mother Mary. I have a big voice. She would talk about her student my niece.
Some of us are deep.
Hello. Okay. So the story goes that my Mother Mary Blanche McGraw was sitting on the train coming from Altoona, where I'm from, with Mother Aloysius Lowe, and they stopped in Greensburg and they looked up on the hill and said, "This is where we'll make our place." And that's the story our family tells. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but all those years, my grandmother would come up here and she'd talk about her. And I didn't realize she was buried right across from Brownlee. And so last time we were up here, we did the tour, and I was like, oh, and so I took lots of pictures. So I'm sure my grandmother in heaven knows is hanging out with her right now. But she wasn't the celebrity of our family. Yeah.
Wow.
Sharon, and I also want to introduce to those of you who do not know, Sister Alicia Costa. Sister is from the Holy Family Sisters in New Orleans, a community that we've had a relationship with since 1920, or 21 actually. And we still have a wonderful relationship with them. Vivian and I were lucky to go in November to represent our community at their 175th anniversary. And we just have a great relationship with them. And we're so glad that Alicia could come. She taught for 5 years at the university, and we're glad she could come back to experience a little of a centennial year. So she'll be we have two nieces of Sister Mary and Joseph here too. And they had another aunt as well in the community, Sister Mary Peter. So the McElhaney's are here, and there's one of them. And there's are we missing any other relatives? Put your hands up. Oh, too bad. Well, actually, I had a relative in the community. I never knew her. She died. She only lived in the community six years. She was one of the very early members of the community, Sister Maria Pauline Foley. And she taught at the academy, actually. That's all I know about her. But my grandfather's listed in her obituary. So now let's hear some stories from you. We have a few minutes, and that was our plan. We really want your stories. We know our stories, but we want your stories. And we know you have them in your heart, so if there's one that wasn't told, we don't want bad stories like that. We want nice stories, but we'll take the bad ones too if you want to tell them. Anybody?
Susan, why don't you tell your story to the group? Which one? I told so many. Well, just about how you know.
Okay. Well, my name's Susan Brayman Baxter. I graduated in 1978, and I think Sister Tori Marie was our class advisor, right? Yeah. Oh, you were here. Okay. Anyway, I said to our small group that I just don't know where I would be if it wasn't for Seton Hill. I had 7 brothers and sisters. My father he couldn't work because of heart disease. And when I came here, I didn't even know what college was. I didn't know what you were supposed to do. But at any rate, I just really feel that Seton Hill, that St. Elizabeth Ann, I'm reflecting back on it now, I realize that St. Elizabeth Ann put her finger on me early on and said, I will take this one. I will bring her here and form her into the person. And so I was thinking of just one particular story that, like Thanksgiving, you had to go home. Well, my father couldn't come get me. And he kept saying, find somebody to go home with. And you don't just ask somebody, right? So I hid in the dorm, and I think it was Sister Jean Boggs that saw me in the hall. She goes, what are you doing here? And I was telling her, she goes, where are you eating lunch? And I said, because I had stashed a little crackers in my room. She said, you will be my guest. And so each day, a different sister would host me for a different meal in the Sisters Cafeteria. That is the Sisters of Charity, and I really feel like I'm living my life because of them. I would be living in a garbage can somewhere because of the Sisters of Charity. So thank you all.
Thank you for your story, and that's beautiful. And I hope we have done that over and over again, and I'm sure there are a number of sisters. I know Jean Boggs is not on them, who's all the time looking at people. So, is there another little story around? Oh, shy people.
I truly am a product of the Sisters of Charity. I went to Resurrection Grade School, Elizabeth Ann Seton High School, and now Seton Hill College. And became a Catholic school teacher in the Diocese of Greensburg. And then moved on to now a faith formation director for parishes here in the diocese. So and Sister Maureen was one of my teachers in grade school. So when I come back here, and especially when I come here to Caritas Christi, it's like coming home. Because it's people that I remember growing up. And we loved coming here when we were in college to see all the elderly sisters. But just like you, I am who I am because of the influence of the sisters.
Thank you. Is there a bad story? Well, I never had the chance to graduate from Seton Hill. So I became a nurse, and I came back as the nurse in 1959 because there was a flu epidemic. And I had to be up all night because it was a bad flu epidemic. And I had them everywhere in the building sick. But the next day was the prom or a dance or something. They had the most amazing way of getting better. So I got transferred again to another place since they didn't need me. And, so that was mine. But Jean Boggs was in the class at the time. And she used to come over to the infirmary and she'd say, I'm not really sick, but I'd like some juice. And I really like grape juice. I really like. So the next year she entered, and for a long time, I've kind of forgotten to do it lately, I would buy a 6-pack of grape juice and set it up to her. I think there is another story back that way.
Vivian's going to tell a story, and somebody might chime in.
A lot of you already heard this story. It's a Zoe story. And Zoe and some freshmen. And Zoe pulled me into her office one day. We were the dean, she was the dean of women, I was the assistant to the dean of women. And that was probably the craziest job I've ever had in my life, I must say. But anyhow, she pulls me in and she says, Ouija, don't laugh. This is not funny. I said, okay, put my serious face on. Well, in those days, the students came back after Christmas and they still had their final papers and their final exams to do and before the first semester ended. So those couple of weeks right after Christmas were like crazy time. They were up half the night, you know, trying to get papers done and all this kind of thing. So, but apparently in the middle of the night, a group of freshmen, who will remain nameless unless they name themselves, decided they needed a little fun. And so they discovered on 3rd and Min, there's an oratory, like a little chapel, and it had the Christmas crib still in it. So they decided they would take the figurines out of the Christmas set, and there was a blue carpet down the center of this little chapel, and they put the little guy playing the flute, you know, the shepherd, they put him at the front, and everybody else was down the carpet. And baby Jesus was still in the stable with an little sign on it that said, "Hey, where are you guys going?"
I love it.
Sounds funny. Now, we also had living at that time in St. Joseph's building some elderly sisters, and most of them were pretty good spirited about living amongst all these young folks who were, you know, full of beans. But one sister she thought this was a very bad thing these students did. And she met 2 of them who did it in the hallway, but she didn't know they were 2 of the perpetrators. And she said to them, "Whoever did this, their arms and legs should fall off."
Oh!
So they came and told me this story. And the next day, one of them twisted her leg in chin.
I meant to be part of that group.
Of course, none of the rest of you did anything like that.
I love it.
I have a little ornery story. There was a group of us, we were walking across the campus past the Hague dorm, trying to go to dinner or something. It was a beautiful spring morning or afternoon. And the windows were open in Hague, and Sister Rosalie lived over there. And she had a little cat, Boots. It was a beautiful cat, black with little white paws. And Sister Rosalie was at the window going, "Boots, Boots." And so a bunch of us said, "Here I am, sister." She said, "You're not Boots, you're too ugly."
We have time for 2 more stories. Oh, there's one back there.
No, I wanted the lady who told the story about having her second child. She can share that with us.
That's all right, say that again.
For the benefit of Sister Miriam Joseph's relatives. I had my first child. She was a miracle. I didn't think I'd have any more children. I visited Seton Hill and happened to run into Sister Miriam Joseph, who I knew very well, and she said, "How many children do you have?" And I said, "Oh, just the one, and we're lucky to have her." And she said, No, you need another child. You need another child. I'm very good at this. Let me Now, what do you have at home? And to have another little girl. She said, oh, no, 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 you need a boy, my dear. You need a girl and a boy. Well, let me take care of this for you. 9 months to the day after that conversation, my son was born.
I knew that Sister Mary Joseph had a lot of talent. One more. We shouldn't go with that. One more story.
This is more recent.
That's all right.
Actually, this is a Sister Lois Jesus story. So, I'm rather recent to Seton Hill, even though I have white hair. I'm a graduate and I was on the board, but I just came to be on staff at Sister Lois's encouragement. I bless her each day. Anyway, I'm new and excited, and so I got this wonderful idea that we were going to move the crib from the oratory to the courtyard. So I said to Lois, I have this idea, we're going to move that. She said, you can't do that. I said, why not? Well, they'll take the baby Jesus. So anyway, I said, okay. Shortly thereafter, and I don't know how she knew this, I ran into Joanne Boyle. And she said, I hear you're moving the crib to the courtyard. And I said, well, no, we can't do that. And she said, well, why not? And I said, well, Sister Lois said they'll take the baby Jesus. And she said, well, Maureen, if they take the baby Jesus, we'll buy a new baby Jesus. Yeah, we put him out there and no one took him.
See, Tony and Snow White was stealing one. Thank you so much for coming. We enjoyed it. We hope you did. And this will probably start a lot of storytelling throughout the day. And some of us will be over to see you around cocktail hour and the honor. And we do honor the people that came. I think there's a few of them here that are the distinguished graduates, but maybe they're so excited they went somewhere else. Would you stand and we recognize? We'll be there to cheer you on this afternoon and for dinner and so on. Thank you for coming.
Can we get a group picture, please?
Oh, with all of the people that came from up here and have it taken around the everybody's safe. Right,
wherever it's easiest for everybody.
We'll try to get some chairs.
You want to do it in the chapel? From the back?
So you have plenty of time. It's not this early enough that you'll get back. So if you put it in the chapel, take a picture, let it go. I say, I'm wondering how you're doing.